Hello folks, this is the Beast Core here to review Pacific Rim the Black. Warning, some slight spoilers. Warning, I'm not going to give you a summary, but tell me if you want that in future reviews. In reality, this is kind of a part review, part critique, part analysis. So today we're looking at Pacific Rim the Black. The Black is a new Netflix original anime. It takes place after the events of Pacific Rim Uprising, but you don't have to have seen it or even the original to understand what is really going on. The show does a good job of recapping the story of the movies, and to be honest, it's pretty simple premise. Giant robot versus giant monster. But I know why you're really here. Does this show resurrect the dying franchise, or is it the final nail in the Uprising coffin? Well, fortunately, it is the former. This show saves the dying franchise, and I think returns it to a better spot than it's ever been. When the original came out, I loved it. I really did. Everyone I knew loved it. Like in middle school, this was the thing. But as I grew up and matured, it failed to leave a lasting impression. I think this is in part to the simple plotline. Pacific Rim was loved by the more casual fans and general public, but to a deep genre fan, it didn't bring anything new to the table. It was created as a tribute to those movies, but in order to accomplish this, it had to boil itself down to the genre essentials. Not to hate on this movie, Guillermo del Toro did an amazing job, and Pacific Rim has a lot going for it, but it just isn't a filling meal for giant monster enthusiasts. Then, of course, Uprising happened. It seems like Pacific Rim couldn't find its way in the bloated tokusatsu genre. Then The Black was released. The Black not only drags the Pacific Rim out of the graveyard zone, it gives it a flavor all its own. Post-apocalyptic methods have been dabbled in the similar franchises, but never to the type and degree of The Black. Pacific Rim the Black does take place after the events of Uprising, but it does do an amazing job of adapting its strengths while abandoning its weaknesses, just like the parents did their children. Also, the Black serves two roles. It both cuts ties to the in-universe world and the burden of the movie's legacies. As I said before, this show does not require prior viewing to watch. However, if you have, there are some fun Easter eggs. Another thing that distanced the Black from the movies is while the movies were huge, global-sized in scope, the Black is small, and I think it works a lot better in its favor. Australia has gone excommunicado, and it's a true post-apocalypse. This show is not about trying to save the world, it's about two siblings surviving and trying to find their parents. There are already so many kaiju and tokusatsu shows about the global impact and the fight for human survival. In fact, tokusatsu as a whole has largely ignored the human side of destruction, and it's very refreshing to see it. There is also some strong themes about man being scarier than monsters. The monsters aren't so much an enemy as they are an obstacle, Copperhead being an exception. The villains of the story are far more ruthless, and near the end we discover Boy is a kaiju himself. This show reserves the most violent actions for the human characters. There's also some allusion to humans causing the kaiju or something, but it went right over my head, and honestly I think the writers too. Both of these tie into how dark the show is. I was genuinely surprised. I must have been watching too much Ultraman and Godzilla the series, because I watched these people being attacked by Copperhead and waiting for the censored deaths. None of that here. You see Copperhead crush people in their last looks of despair. There are also some gruesome scenes of people being eaten and shot. There's also a head-popping death for one of the best characters. It is genuinely earned and you don't see it coming. But Joel. Why'd they kill Joel? Though I probably should have, because when they make a character this likable, they are never allowed to live. Ever. Another thing that needs to be talked about is the soundtrack and set pieces. The soundtrack works perfectly for this show. It maintains the sound of the original, but splices it with more orchestral and electronic anime touches. The opening theme is especially good and a definite standout. It's nothing amazing, but it definitely gets the job done. The set piece design is also great. The shadow basin is beautiful, and the scene where Mai sides with the protagonists is really good. Black has some truly powerful moments. Now that I've sung the praises, the nitpicking begins. This show definitely has some issues, minimal but evident. One is the fact that animation is super jittery in places and it can look off-putting. Hopefully this is fixed in the already confirmed second season. Another is the pacing. This show covers a lot of ground and it damages it quite a bit. These deaths would be a lot more impactful if we actually knew these people. Seriously, we never get to know these people. The show never stays in one spot for long, and it doesn't allow yourself to immerse in the moment. This is why I personally enjoy the My Shane arc the most. It's allowed the most time to evolve and ends with a previously mentioned set piece scene. Also, before anyone just okay, this is 3D animation. You need to get over it. It looks pretty good as long as you don't look the frame rate. So is this show worth it? It definitely has flaws and it's not mind-blowing by any means. But what the heck, this franchise was dead. Pacific Rim has always been about dumb action and this show definitely delivers plus more. It is best to assume that Pacific Rim will never become something super big, but this puts it back on the map. If you're looking for 4 to 5 hours of good fun and light drama, this hits the spot. So my final review will be 7 Fangs and a special claw for Redeemer sequel. That's it for me. Hopefully I'll see you soon at Beast Core.